This is Jack Fishman behind the camera, talking to the San Antonio Symphony's artistic advisor and conductor, Christopher Seaman. Christopher, you're conducting June 4th and 5th at the Majestic Theatre. Tell us about the program.
Well, it's a wonderful program to end the season. We start off with Beethoven. Well, that can't be bad, can it? And we start with his Egmont Overture, which is short, heroic, exciting, a story of triumph. Then we are joined by one of the great violinists of our time, Nadja Salerno-Sonnenberg. I've been a friend of Nadja's for 20 years. She's a wonderful artist, not just musically, but she's enormous personal charisma. Everyone tells you the one minute she starts playing, you can't take your eyes off her, or your ears. So that's the concerto, which is Max Bruch, great romantic concerto. So we have Beethoven, wonderful overture. We have Nadja playing Max Bruch, great romantic violin concerto. Then after the break, we're doing a masterpiece by the English composer Elgar. Now, people say to me, Elgar was very English. Well, of course, I wouldn't know what that meant. But I will tell you, you can tell a little bit from his appearance and his personality what you can expect in the music. He looked like a retired general, very upright in his posture, not very tall, slim, but stood very erect, with a droopy white moustache, and usually dressed as if he was a squire with a country estate walking round with a dog at his heels. And he loved to go to the races. So on the outside, he seemed to be a confident English gentleman. On the inside, like all geniuses, he was hypersensitive and very vulnerable. And what is wonderful about his music is that you have the bombastic, confident, land of hope and glory aspect, but on the inside, enormous tenderness and above all a certain nostalgia. In Elgar's music, you feel he's yearning for a happiness that he has never had or is looking for or has lost or something. But in the music, you get that extraordinary combination of the two, the yearning, the romantic, and the very confident, almost aggressive power. Elgar was highly professional, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Elgar played violin, he played bassoon, and he played trombone. When he'd finished writing a symphony, he played all the string parts over on the violin, including the double bass part, 4 octaves higher. Then he played all the woodwind parts over on the bassoon, including the piccolo part, 4 octaves lower. Then he played all the brass parts over on the trombone. And the reason he did that was, he said to composers, for goodness sake, give the musicians something to do. Because he'd been an orchestral player, he was a good violinist. He'd done a lot of gigs, and he'd played music where the violin part had really something to get your teeth into, something to practice, something to challenge you, something to stretch you, which all musicians like. And he'd also played music which was as boring as heck all evening. And he did not want to give musicians music that was boring as heck to play, however sweet on the ear it may possibly sound. So here we have a piece where the orchestra is really stretched, really challenged. They will rise to it, believe me, but you will see your great orchestra, the San Antonio Symphony, standing on its nose during this piece, because the writing is very brilliant, it's very, as I say, fireworky, challenging in parts. And it's got a wonderful ending, because at the beginning there's a rather noble melody, rather a noble, serious melody, like a slow procession of very important royal English people. And all kinds of things happen in the length of the piece. And at the end of the last movement, that melody comes back in full splendor on the whole orchestra, and you have the wonderful feeling that the wheel has come full circle, in the words of Shakespeare. So there we have it. Beethoven Egmont, Max Bruch Violin Concerto, Elgar, Sir Edward Elgar, Symphony No. 1.
Wonderful, and that's Friday, June 4th, Saturday, June 5th, at the Majestic Theatre at 8 p.m. We're looking forward to it.
So are we.